Expectations. As children of the 90s to the 2000s era, we, as students today, have been the direct subjects of the No Child Left Behind Act. But what about the children before us? What were they held accountable to? These children were part of the Goals 2000's Educate America Act. So what are the Goals of 2000's Act of 1994? The goals were national educational goals that were set by the U.S. Congress in the 1990s. These goals were made to set objectives for standard-based education reform, but most of these goals were based on the principles of outcomes-based education. None of these goals were met by the year of 2000. In this act, there were 8 goals that the U.S. Congress wanted to meet by 2000. The following are the list of goals. Act 1. All children in America will start school ready to learn. Under this act, it was believed that students will have access to high-quality and developmentally appropriate preschool programs that will help prepare children for school. This put a lot of responsibility on the parents, ensuring that in the United States, they would be the student's first teacher, and that children would receive necessary nutrition, physical activity, and health care to arrive at school with healthy minds and bodies. Act 2. The high school graduation rate will increase to at least 90%. This was brought into the school system in order to dramatically reduce the dropout rate in the United States. Minority dropout rates would be equivalent to that of the non-minority rates, according to this act. Act 3. All students will leave grades 4, 8, and 12 having demonstrated competency over challenging subject matter, including English, mathematics, science, foreign languages, civics and government, economics, the arts, history, and geography. And every school in America will ensure that all students learn to use their minds well, so that they may be prepared for responsible citizenship, further learning, and productive employment in our nation's modern economy. The academic performance of all students will increase in all quartiles. The percentage of students who demonstrate the ability to reason, solve problems, apply knowledge, and write and communicate effectively will increase substantially. All students will have access to physical education and health education to ensure they are healthy and fit. The percentage of all students who are competent in more than one language will increase, while all students will be knowledgeable about the diverse cultures. Act 4. The United States will be first in the world in mathematics and science achievement. Mathematics and science education, including the metric system of measurement, will be strengthened through the system, especially in the early grades. The number of teachers with a substantive background in mathematics and science, including the metric system of measurement, will increase by 50%. The number of U.S. undergraduate and graduate students, especially women and minorities, who complete degrees in mathematics, science, and engineering will increase significantly. Act 5. By the year 2000, the nation's teaching force will have access to programs for the continued improvement of their professional skills and the opportunity to acquire the knowledge and skills needed to instruct and prepare all American students for the next century. This includes that states and school districts will create integrated strategies to attract, recruit, prepare, retain, and support the continued professional development of teachers, administrators, and other educators, so that there is a highly talented workforce and professional educators to teach educational, challenging subject matter. This act also included that partnerships will be established whenever possible among local educational agencies, institutions of higher education, parents, and local labor, business, and professional associations to provide and support programs for the professional development of educators. Act 6. By the year 2000, every adult American will be literate and will possess the knowledge and skills necessary to compete in a global economy and exercise the rights and responsibility of citizenship. Under this act, it was hoped that every major American business would be involved in the strengthening of the connection between education and work. This meant that the proportion of the qualified students, especially minorities who enter college, would complete at least 2 years and would complete their degree programs and would increase substantially. The proportion of college graduates who demonstrate an advanced ability to think critically, communicate effectively, and solve problems would also increase substantially. Act 7. By the year 2000, every school in the United States will be free of drugs, violence, and the unauthorized presence of firearms and alcohol, and will offer a disciplined environment conducive to learning. This coincides oftentimes with the DARE program so many of us 90s children are used to. Every school will implement a firm and fair policy on use, possession, and distribution of drugs and alcohol. Every local educational agency will develop and implement a policy to ensure that all schools are free of violence and the unauthorized presence of weapons. This also includes that drug and alcohol curriculum should be taught as an integral process of sequential, comprehensive health education. Act 8. By the year 2000, every school will promote partnerships that will increase parental involvement and participation in promoting the social, emotional, and academic growth of children. Every school will actively engage parents and families in a partnership which supports the academic work of children at home and shared educational decision-making at school. Parents and family will help to ensure that schools are adequately supported and will hold schools and teachers to high standards of accountability. Under this act, every state will develop policies to assist local schools and local educational agencies to establish programs for increasing partnerships that respond to the varying needs of parents in the home, including parents of children who are disadvantaged or bilingual, or parents of children with disabilities. In the end, the Goals 2000 Act of 1994 was not achieved. By the year 2000, all goals were still unmatched. This, however, did lead to the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001 under President Bush. So what can we take away from this act? What have we learned for future teaching? Although the acts themselves were unattainable with such high standards, we have learned that incentives are good for students in the classroom. Having goals to reach are wonderful as long as they are reachable. So how as teachers in the future classroom are we going to set goals that can be achieved? The easiest way is to follow the SMART guideline. They must be specific, measurable, actioned, realistic, and timely. If the goal can follow under these 5 categories, more than likely the goal will be achieved. Although the Goals 2000 of 1994 acts were abolished from the classroom due to their supreme failure, that is not to say as future teachers we cannot learn from our past mistakes and move on. Although history may repeat itself, it doesn't have to. As future teachers, it is our job and responsibility to impact the minds of the children we teach. By setting goals that are achievable and reasonable, we may form the future minds of this country. In the words of the teacher Bob Talbert, teaching kids to count is fine, but teaching them what counts is best. Go out and change your life today. After all, we're teachers.